3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
And we're back for episode 5 of the Gamerbuzz podcast. I'm your host, Seth. I am the Buzzed Gamer. This is my co-host, Brett.
Hello.
And we're on episode 5. We're still doing it and still having a great time. We've got a pretty good show planned ahead. We're going to finish our game that we started last week, or the week before last, regarding the... he's going to guess... guess games from my favorite franchises, order them up.
Favorite episodes.
Yes! Top 5 favorite episodes. One of them won't make it, because there's... I don't know. Anyways, so we are going to finish that game and then talk a little bit about news. We haven't really touched on news a whole lot in this show, but there's a little bit to talk about because Sony absolutely loves shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, it's not great news.
Yeah. And then other than that, just talking about what we've been up to. So what have you been playing? What have you been up to? What's life doing for you?
Yeah, so I kind of have life stuff going on right now. Like my Celica I was working on, it needed new shocks in the rear, so I figured, I'll just do it by myself. It'll be pretty easy, you know. I have the manual for it, and no, it was not. Like, it's a good shape, but it's extremely rusty underneath. And so, like, all the bolts, everything was, like, seized up.
Ooh.
And even with, like, an impact driver, I'm just sitting there just, like, running my battery down on the impact driver. Just, like...
just dousing in WD-40.
I was, like, just, like, penetrating fluid, just, like, the, you know, impact driver.
Yeah.
Some of them just were not going to move. So I had to, like, literally drill out parts of...
I was
like,
wondering that if you had to break any of the bolts.
Yeah,
or...
I almost thought about getting like you ever seen a nutcracker?
Yep.
Yeah, it goes over the nut and you screw it in and it kind of wedges in like something to kind of split the nut open if you've never seen one. But
Gotcha.
yeah, what I needed was heat. I needed a torch because if you torch a rusty bolt, it kind of loosens it up. But yeah, I also didn't want to burn my house down, so there was like fluid everywhere. So
Small safety measures.
I was like, this could be a little dangerous if I light all this.
Have you been spraying WD-40 all over the place?
Exactly. So I think I mostly got it. I've got all the parts I need, the ones that I broke. So I'm doing that. Gosh, what else? I cleaned my house. That was good.
Yeah, I haven't. It is a pit. I've also got a lot of my own life stuff going on.
Yeah.
And not to get too much into it, but the house is not... it's been a little bit neglected, so...
It happens.
Yeah, no, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's...
Sorry to... See, I'm the interrupting gamer.
Oh, there you go. I'm Buzz Gamer, you're the interrupting gamer.
Interrupting gamer. Gonna make this a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually played a demo for a game that was recommended to me on Steam.
Okay.
So it's called We Harvest Shadows, I think.
Okay, I haven't heard of this one.
All right, are you familiar with the Evil Farming game as like a lost media thing on YouTube?
No.
Okay, so there's the guy, I like any kind of lost media stuff.
Yeah.
So like, TV shows that people remember but can't find for whatever reason. People will collaborate and find these different things. So there's something that a person remembered vaguely about an evil farming game where basically they were remembering that it was like Harvest Moon, but you like murder your wife and you like have to hide her body, and then like the rest of the game is basically trying to live farming while also like hiding the body from the cops.
Really?
Yeah, it was a super interesting saga where people were just like trying to find anything like this. There's a few games that were close, but at the end it was actually somebody had heard somebody imagining a game like that on like a podcast or something. So it wasn't a real game. But since then, people have been making...
Well, let's make it.
Well, yeah, people have been making like evil farming games. So this one that I just talked about, We Harvest Shadows, is kind of like that. It wasn't the exact same premise, but it was like you move out to this house and you are just going to be a farmer, I guess. And for some reason, you're planning on being there forever. So I don't think you're there because you want to be or happily,
Gotcha.
But
you've been exiled.
It was just a demo, so it wasn't the full game. But it was pretty cool. Like there was a few parts that got me that just like scared the crap out of me.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like first person?
It's first person. Yeah,
Okay.
you're just like in a house out in the middle of the country. It's like pretty basic farming stuff, like plant tomatoes and just water them, and the next day you have tomatoes to sell and whatnot. But
sure,
yeah, it was like a fun little experience thing. Like I don't know that I would beat the whole game, but yeah, that's probably like the only major thing I've been playing.
Yeah,
but
Well, I ate my words.
Oh.
So,
Oh, yeah.
if you'll remember last episode, I was really praising Visions of Mana and how it was getting bad reviews from a website that gave, like, glowing reviews for Star Wars Outlaws. And I made that assumption based on, in my defense, a reputation that Ubisoft has earned for itself.
Oh, yeah.
As far as making just kind of mass produce or like mass appeal, shallow, overpriced games. And so, I mean, it really looked like Outlaws was going to be the same way. Well, I can't tell you really what brought the decision, but one day I was just like, I'm gonna get it. I'm just gonna. I think I went to Video Games, etc., and I've actually interviewed him in a previous show about, or in a previous documentary about video game preservation. Joe is one of the head honchos at Video Games, etc. One of the stores we brought up, and I take his recommendations pretty seriously. We don't have the exact same flavor in games, but I usually try out a lot of his recommendations, and he really liked it. He was really praising it. I'm like, you know what? I came in planning on spending X amount of money anyway. I'm just gonna pick it up, bring it home. Here's the only theory I can come across of why Star Wars Outlaws is getting low sevens, like not bad, but just kind of mediocre, plain, like flying under the radar reviews. It was marketed incorrectly.
Really?
They did make it so like you kind of look at the trailers and you're kind of picturing like Assassin's Creed in space with kind of an open world and yada yada yada. Really, there is very little focus on like combat. So it is extremely stealth heavy. The thing about the game is it has a lot of systems, so it has a lot of things to keep you busy and do in the game. None of it is extremely well polished or extremely advanced, but it's fun. It's just fun to do. So like the way I feel like the game should have been marketed is just having this like real feeling Star Wars world to escape to. Just to kind of go over one of my experiences that I had in the game, just kind of like a snapshot of what one of my days in the game might look like. I'll hop on, I'll go to a local seedy Mos Eisley cantina or another cantina on another planet and play a Hand of Sabacc, which is kind of their like Texas Hold'em, like space poker.
Space poker.
and I'll play it, and then I'll get up from there, go out, get on my speeder, do a job, get a wanted level from the Empire, hop off, get onto my ship, fly out of the atmosphere into space, hyperdrive to another planet, land down on, let's say, Tatooine, just as the two suns are setting in the horizon. It's very this feel game. Like, it just feels good to exist in this very realistic, very well-realized Star Wars world. The missions themselves can vary from like a stealth base, like literally the game puts you in a no combat situation where you can't use a weapon. So one thing I don't like about it, the game doesn't really like will tell you this is how this segment is played, this is how this segment is played. So like you go to an area and it'll be like, oh, you have to use stealth this whole time, you will fail if you get caught. And then after like you get whatever MacGuffin was at the end of it, then you can do like a blast your way out of there. And so it is a little handholdy in that regard, but it is not handholdy in difficulty. Like, I have failed stealth like quite a bit. It's not like, you know, Assassin's Creed's like faux stealth that they have where it's like you have like, if you get caught, you have a big long window where you can just walk up and stab them and no one knows that it happened. It's like you get caught and you can get a skill. That's another thing. The game has loads of different skills that you can unlock in a variety of different ways. You can get a skill called Fast Talk, where you have a moment to press a button where she'll be like, whoa, hey, I was just coming in to see you guys. How? And then you can do something in that time if you can distract them. But it's hard to do because you have to really think on your toes to kind of layer all these systems to make them work for you.
And it's kind of like a smuggler, more focused, like Han Solo.
Yeah,
kind of thing,
it's more the scoundrel world.
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't really seen... In the perfect world, here's how I see that game working. Solo Star Wars story never came out.
Oh, thank God.
And instead of that, we got this game and you were playing as Han Solo.
Yeah.
The worst thing about the game is I just do not give a shit about Kay Vess.
Yeah.
She's a bad decision-making factory. She is annoying. She never really feels like she grows throughout the story. She has the same personality. She just, I don't know. And this is going to sound like, this is going to sound really bad, but she just kind of has a dumb face. I don't know, like you look at it, it's just, you look at it and you're like, it's like my heroes don't have to be like gorgeous, perfect looking, like, They can be normal human being looking people. Like Silent Hill 2, the main character was real Joe Schmo.
A lot of those characters kind of ugly looking or just weird looking, but in a good way.
Yeah, in Kay Vess, I don't know. I just think she looks like kind of off-putting. But anyways, I don't want people to come after me and be like, "Oh, you think all video game characters have to be supermodels?" No, I don't. Like I've made some ugly fucking characters in my like create your own character games. She just has a face that just annoys me.
I want to hear about the robot.
Dude, the robot he's the most, like, matter-of-fact, like, he's the most deadpan matter-of-fact delivery. It was, like, N5 or ND5 or something like that. I'll show you some gameplay with him in it later, but he's very much, I'm here because I have to be, and it is against my will, and I don't have to like you. Like, at one point, you're going into this cave, and you're like, ND5, I'm going to this cave. I might not come out. This may be the death of me. And there's just a pause, and he goes, okay. And you say something along the lines of like, "Do you want to know why I'm going in?" He's like, "I assume to find your target." Yeah, pretty much. It's like, yeah, it's hard to do it justice, but he's definitely the best character by far. And there are quite a few good characters, like just not Kay.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched the review of it before you got it, I think, just because I was curious about it. And yeah, it's the person reviewing it, they were obviously kind of goofing on it and stuff, but they did mention that like the environments were really good. Like, you know, getting to explore these different kind of cool, seedy like Star Wars locations was good. But yeah, it's just I'm not gonna crap on it. It's just not for me.
Yeah. No,
you know, you say Ubisoft. Is it Ubisoft or Ubisoft?
I think it's.
I don't know what it is.
I feel like I go back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know. Them.
Ooh, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Ooh, Ubisoft.
Are they French or what is
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. But that's why I don't like them.
Oh my gosh. Getting racist on the Gamerbuzz channel. Or nationalist.
French people.
Please don't go away if we have any French viewers.
Probably not.
Probably not. Maybe down the road, though.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, it's it's good. I mean, there's just like a huge variety of things, and none of them are amazing, but you can gamble, bet on racing, do stealth, explore, do ship battles, just sit at a canteen and really absorb the atmosphere. It's just the kind of game, kind of like Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's just like you can really just experience the world and feel like you're living in it. And that's so that's my too long spiel about Star Wars Outlaws. It threw me for a loop. I made crap out of it the last episode, and I'm here to say I fell in love with it.
You're eating crow.
I'm eating crow. That's right.
I'm glad you like it though. Like, you know, even though it's not for me. It's
yeah. Oh yeah, you always enjoy hearing like that someone is enjoying a video game. You don't want you don't hope someone hates a video game.
I'm upset that you like it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you like Duke Nukem Forever, I'd be a little. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing the original. I was playing the original Duke Nukem 3D.
Really?
Yeah, I have it on PS3. Just like a digital download. And still, it's just so fun to play like the first level of that game.
Yeah.
Not much further, but yeah.
Yeah. I just like how like that game goes a little over. Like, it's not an immersive sim, but like you can interact with so many things around the environment. There's like lots of secrets that you can find. Like, it's not just cool for being edgy. Like, it was a good game.
Oh yeah, it was cool for like being interactable.
Yep.
Kind of back in the day, because it's not quite to the depths of like an immersive sim, but it has like kind of parts of that a little bit. Like, just the interactability,
like starting elements of it.
I forget when that was from. It was like 93 or 94 maybe, but so yeah, for the back in the day, it was pretty good. But like Duke Nukem, he hasn't aged very well.
No, no.
not the most progressive of video game
characters.
Like
a zucchini.
Yeah. I like the guy's voice. I think it's like. John...
Is it has it always been the same voice actor?
Yeah, I think it's John St. John is the voice actor, and yeah, Duke Nukem voice.
Hail to the king, baby.
Love it. All right.
So do you have anything else you can think of? Anything you wanted to touch on before we jump into the tier list?
Let's do it. No, I'm ready.
Do it.
Yeah.
All right. So just in case you missed the last episode, stop watching and please go watch it.
Yeah.
But if you really don't want to, what we do here is last time Brett set up 10 video games from franchises that he absolutely loved. And just from what I know about him and our time together, I tried to guess where on a tier list going from S through C did they fall on. They're all games he loves. These are all games I love. But
franchises I love.
Franchises, yes. Well, yeah, one of the things that I cheated a little bit, isn't a franchise. There's only one in the franchise. It was supposed to be a franchise. They would
dock your pay for this.
I can live with that.
Okay.
Hey, technically, I hired you, buddy. All right, so just give the list of what we have here. We have the Red Dead Redemption franchise, a Red Dead franchise, Fable, The Witcher, Dragon Age, Lunar, Kingdoms of Amalur. That's my one cheat. There's really only ever one game, but it was intended to be a franchise. Created by famous baseball player Kurt Schilling. You might say I'm shilling for the Kingdoms of Amalur series. That's a whole drama. I'd love to do an episode about just the Kingdoms of Amalur drama and how it bankrupt. Yeah. And how it just about bankrupted the state of Rhode Island. And dude,
that I remember.
Yeah, I love Kingdoms of Amalur, but the story behind its creation is almost as interesting. It's there's so many deep dives and documentaries you can look at. This one might, especially when we were knocking on Ubisoft, so this one might surprise you, but Far Cry, Golden Sun, the Ys series, and the Legend of Zelda series.
Ooh, man, right. So we got S, A, B, and C. We will start from the... I forget, as we were kind of going through them, we said a little bit about them, right?
We talked about them a little bit. So what you can do is you just kind of explain your reasons for making this, kind of what I've said about it, and our history talking about it. And then at the end, I'll tell you how you felt.
Right. So I think you're the first person that I ever knew that was really into Red Dead or Red Dead Redemption. You know, did you ever play Red Dead Revolver?
I have played it. It's super fun. Yeah, it's definitely not what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of this tier list.
Yeah.
We're definitely talking about Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, but...
I definitely think that'd be an A for you.
Okay.
There's a few others here that I am thinking more S tier, just because I know that you're super into it.
Right.
But I know that, you're a big fan of Red Dead Redemption. I actually just recently played Red Dead Redemption 2, or at least part of it.
Yeah.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not even a big fan of Rockstar games.
Yeah.
But...
I will tell you, if you've never played a video game in your life, I'm specifically directing this at your dad. If you've never played a video game in your life, but you have any sort of appreciation for Westerns, I think Forbes called it one of the greatest Westerns of all time.
I've heard
cross
that,
mediums. And it is. The story, the interactivity in the world, just the feeling of the game it's unmatchable. I would say well, I'm not going to say that now because it kind of gives away some stuff, but it is not my favorite video game in the world.
Oh, I picked good then.
But it is, I guess I just gotta give away. But I mean, I have multiple S tiers. It is not my favorite video game in the world, but I can honestly say it's probably the greatest game in the world. Not from my perspective, but just from a top looking down. Yeah.
I would agree with that. From everything I've heard, basically, it is deserving of that kind of praise. But for me personally, I don't love open world Rockstar games, but I had a lot of fun playing it because it is different. It's it's interactive in a way that I've not really had in other open world games that. But I guess we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
All right, Fable. All right, I know that you're a Fable fan.
Oh yeah.
But some of these are going to be hard to put it C tier. Fable, I'm going to put B tier. I'm questioning that one already. But I'll just leave it there.
Fable's a franchise that I've really grown up with. Like, it's one that I can have memories of my first time playing it. I remember one of Jesse's friends that was over was going to sell me the game, and I remember like my mom was coming to pick me up from Jesse's, and he was kind of dragging his feet, and he's going to bring it over, and I kept like calling him and like just like, are you bringing this over? Just because I like the way people had talked about it was so it was one of the most evocative games I'd ever heard people talk about. Just the things that you could do, and like the promises Peter Molyneux made, which I wasn't aware of Peter Molyneux at the time, but like
reputation.
Yeah, but the way that they would talk about it, it was it's probably I can probably say without giving any spoilers here, giving you any hints, I think I can safely say that Fable 1 is my favorite original Xbox game.
Oh, okay. Well, just for some spice, I'll leave it there. You
Okay.
tell me wrong about something. It's like, I know Fable's another one where people love that game, but it just wasn't my kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially like, especially back then, like Western fantasy just wasn't my thing, and Fable is like that to a T.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's big. It's fairy tale the game.
The Witcher, super easy, obviously. I mean, it's on your car.
Are you sure?
It's like I'm literally sitting here looking at all kinds of Witcher products and knickknacks. So,
all right, if you're super certain.
And again, you were the first person I ever knew that was way into The Witcher, and you in true hipster fashion, you liked it way before it was popular.
It's 100%. Yeah, I have so many firsts with The Witcher. It's the first video game I ever pirated. It's the first PC game I ever beat. What else? I can't think of there's other ones, but it's my first. So okay, here's if it doesn't bother you for me to stop and tell a short-winded story about it.
Again, I'll have to dock your pay.
I can live that for The Witcher. I'm willing.
I don't know if you know this, but we're not getting paid for this. Sorry,
the secret's out. The secret's out. So I remember Ocarina of Time was the first game that I ever played that was and I talked about this in our first episode. That was this is what video games can be. It had such an impact on me that it introduced me to video gaming and what the medium could do in terms of interactivity and storytelling. And it is not an exaggeration to say it was a life-changing core memory experiencing Ocarina of Time.
Same, yeah.
So when The Witcher came out, I was probably about 14 or 15. And in my head, I don't want to say I was jaded, but I really actively kind of had the thought that video games will never do that to me again. I'm 15 years old. I've really seen what the gaming, medium can do, and it'll do other great things, but I'll never have that transitional experience ever again. Boy, did The Witcher prove me wrong. It was Ocarina of Time all over again. That level of opening my eyes to the new possibilities of what decision and consequences can be in a video game, and how dark, fantasy didn't have to be a bright, very fantastical thing. It could be very realistic and gritty with genuine gray areas and I remember after I did beat the game, the credits rolling, and when I'm really love a game, just out of respect, I'll let the credits roll all the way through. I won't sit there and read everything, but I'll let the credits.
True fan.
But no, fake fan. But no, when the credits rolled and came to the end, it said based on the novels or based on the short stories by Andrzej Sapkowski. And my brain just went, what? What? What are these? What are you talking about? So I spent the next weeks on different wiki pages, just looking up, and I just got introduced to this whole new world that was The Witcher from the old Polish TV show and the Polish comics and the books. And I swear, before the books ever got translated into English, I had read thorough synopses of every single one. Before any of them got translated, I knew pretty much cover to cover all of the Witcher books. And Yeah, so if you're really sure you want to put it into an S tier, I guess.
Yeah, as I say, I'll keep my experience with The Witcher when we actually talk about it later.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, you're the only reason I ever played it, and I was glad I did.
Yeah.
Dragon Age. I feel like Dragon Age is probably another S tier, especially as much as you've been playing it lately.
Yeah, it's fresh on my mind.
When's the new one coming out again?
October 31st. Halloween.
Wow.
Yeah.
Launch, but
yeah.
Yeah, I know you like Dragon Age a lot. I'm guessing it's either S or A tier, but I feel like, yeah, as much as you maybe got burned out on it. I don't know. We'll hear about it later. Yeah, again, Dragon Age is one I don't really have an experience with. It's all through you. Super popular series, but
yeah. Yep.
Lunar. The Lunar series. It's another one that you've talked about a lot, but I have a feeling because I don't want to say it's generic, but it's not fancy. Lunar's not really doing anything dramatic.
It's comfort food.
It's comfort food.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good way. I wasn't trying to disparage it, but
no,
comfort food is what I was kind of thinking. But man, I think I want to do, based off the rest of this list, I'm going to do B tier.
Okay.
It's another one where I know you like it a lot. Maybe it's an A tier.
And that's part of the reason I like this game, this list. These are all games that I really like a lot.
Yeah.
So you really have to put a lot of nuance and think about, like, where does it fit in this very tight margin. Yeah.
What's this one again?
Oh, yeah, I guess I don't have a title. Kingdoms of Amalur.
Kingdoms of Amalur, okay.
It's like, it's basically if God of War and World of Warcraft had a baby.
That's okay.
Like OG PS2 God of War. Yep.
I remember when this came out. I remember you liking it a lot, but it kind of, I don't hear about it anymore from you. So there's a few here. I'm just gonna put that in C, just because the rest of these I think I've got pegged pretty good.
Okay.
We'll see though.
Okay.
Yeah. I probably watched you play. Was it Kingdoms of Amalur?
Yep.
Okay. I did it.
You did it.
Yeah, I watched you play it, and it looked cool. And I specifically remember for some reason reading like the university newspaper at U of I.
Oh yeah,
and there was a review in it.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a big review of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, and yeah,
I bet they have to have archives. I would love to find that.
Yeah, it was. I think it's the Daily Iowan.
Okay. Oh yeah, in my Composition 2 class, we had to go to the Daily Iowan and pick an article that we like broke down or summarized. So I know exactly where to find it. That's awesome.
University rag.
Okay, that's not as flattering.
That's what you call it on a newspaper. It's a rag. All right, Far Cry. So Far Cry is another one where I've never really played it a ton, but like I know you have. But also, it's another one where I'm gonna put it probably C tier, just because like I know that you like it, but I don't hear you talk about it a lot or praise it a ton.
And I'm not gonna recommend you change that. This isn't a comment on that. It's also one that's very fresh in my mind, because I've just lately been jumping back into the series a lot. But I mean, maybe that's the only reason it's on this.
Yeah, I think 3 was the first one I remember you playing. Mm-hmm. That was the one that kind of like brought Far Cry way into the mainstream, it felt like.
And recently, it definitely was, but recently I've been playing 2 because I'd never played 2 before.
I've heard that one's good too.
That one's, I mean, it's before Ubisoft really found its formula, and so it was very different. And it's hardcore. Like, it's a very hardcore, very immersive. Like, you don't just have like map markers and missions and stuff like that. You literally have a compass in one hand and a map in the other that you have to pull up and look. I think after this I'll show you that a little bit, because it has very, very punishing combat. It's Far Cry 2 is definitely like a very what we know of Ubisoft era game. But I do think it has the DNA of what kind of poisoned Ubisoft, and kind of like just that open world with like
fluff,
just lots of fluff. Like, this doesn't have, like, Far Cry 2 doesn't have a lot of fluff, but you can see it started
What generation was Far Cry 2?
Xbox 360.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Is the original Far Cry, is that Xbox or is that Xbox?
The original Far Cry would have been that. It never came out for console. There was a Far Cry 1 for Xbox, but it wasn't the PC experience. It wasn't the same thing as the PC experience.
Huh. All right, C tier, leaving it there. We'll see how it goes. Golden Sun, I'm going to put that at S tier. You talked about that a lot. Obviously, you talked about a lot on the podcast here. So, yeah, I think I forget if you said that was one of your favorite JRPGs or that was your favorite JRPG. Obviously, it was in your top 5 JRPGs episode, which you should go back and listen to already. But yeah, I'm pretty safe at S tier, maybe an A tier, but the S and A tiers is going to be hard for me. Cause I know you really, really like this, but like Zelda, I mean, this is going to be easy, but Ease, I think Ease is going to be an A tier. It's another one I know you like a lot. I'll bounce these out a little bit.
Sure.
Because I should put them all in S tier, but yeah, again, you've talked about how much you like Ease. Ease is one of your top 5s. Yeah, what else is there to say? It's not pronounced wise or use.
But it's easy to see why I love it so much.
Dad jokes. I have not learned this. Actually, I can fake dad.
I think, yeah.
All right, Zelda. This is Zelda. I think we probably talked about this originally. It's like the reason that we're friends.
Yep.
Or the start of our friendship is Zelda, so it's super popular or super important to both of us.
Yep.
And if it had been in my list, it'd been probably S tier as well.
Yep.
I have to say, it's like there's a few that I really, really love. And there's a lot of them I just don't really care for. So
sure, there's really only one that I would say I don't really care for.
Which one?
Skyward Sword. And I did replay it recently when they ported it to the Switch, and I appreciate it a lot more now than the first time that I played it. Mm-hmm. Especially, I want to play through that game and then get to the cistern and just have you play that dungeon.
Yeah,
because it has this one part in particular that I'm like that. Brett would like that.
Yeah, so there's somebody on YouTube that does great videos. Obviously, Zelda's super popular, so there's all kinds of great videos about Zelda, but there's one of the guys who will go through like top 5 or top 10 dungeons in the whole series.
Yep.
And Ancient Cistern was one of them.
Yes.
And it looks like it's kind of like a creepy kind of thing, like I love.
Well, it's kind of dual layered. It's like, imagine if the Shadow Temple and the Water Temple merged into one, and there's like as below, so above, or whatever.
Yeah, I've definitely seen kind of like what they've got going on in that level at least, and I would love to play it.
And it completely takes you by surprise too, because you go in and just like it's a normal level, it's kind of water. You're like, okay, this is a water theme, we're doing this, and then out of the blue you get dropped into the Shadow Realm. You're like, what? Like it's I don't know, it's so clever. It's such a good dungeon.
I wish I mean like even in the newest Zeldas, they probably have some things that are kind of like spooky or scary, but I wish Zelda would just embrace creepy things more. Like I don't know if it was partially just the limitations of the N64 making it look creepier, or if they actually made it a point to have like really creepy things. I feel like they made it a point to in certain things, like but
speaking of system limitations, I actually learned something interesting today. Sorry, I'll knock this one out and then we can go to...
Hey, this is your episode. We can talking.
There's a really interesting thing that I learned, and maybe this is kind of like a no-brainer, but I just never heard it articulated, so I never thought about it. Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons that in old, like, NES and pre-NES era, things like Asteroids and Galaga, like when you think about it, you think there's so many sci-fi games. Like, sci-fi games, like, were so predominant at the time. It was a memory-saving technique, because with space you don't have to really animate backgrounds or do a lot of backgrounds.
That makes sense.
You can really just have a black background and things on it, and that's one of the reasons, because of system limitations, that's one of the reasons why sci-fi dominated so much of the early like video game era.
Probably that in Star Wars.
That in Star Wars.
That makes sense though. Like even this is surely not like one of the earliest driving games, but there's a game for arcade I think called Night Drive.
Yeah.
And literally all it is a black screen and just like little dots of light that are basically like kind of like reflective markers on a road.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where you know where the road is. It's like that kind of crude and archaic. Yeah, it's sort of like black screen. And just like they have these plotted out lights in front of you.
Interesting.
Yeah. weird. You probably know this, I guess. Weird quirk of mine. I'm for some reason obsessed with the wells and cisterns in video games.
I remember because I texted you when I texted you when I was first playing Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, Brett, there's a whole mission around finding all the wells that you can go inside of. Yeah. I was like, he's gonna love this.
I mean, it probably started with Ocarina of Time, like, you know, the famous Zelda well, in, you know, Zelda games. But it's just, I love the thought of just like kind of going into a well and there just being something down there. I thought it'd be fun at some point. And I don't know how I would do this because maybe some people have noticed this, but it's like, wells in video games. I want to make a whole article about different wells in video games. Because even like Dragon Quest 11.
Hey, if Pro Jared can make a video about bees,
I've not seen that.
Wells.
Where was I going with that?
Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest 11 has wells, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's Dragon Quest is the first game I ever played. Like back to Dragon Quest 1. Like Dragon Quest has always had like in the town you could go into the well and there'd be like a chest down there or a weird thing down there. I don't know Dragon Quest 1, but I know like early stuff.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know, for some reason I'm into it.
Yeah, no, it's totally understandable. It is exciting. I think it's almost related to or somewhat close to like when you see a waterfall, like being like there has to be something behind that. And you see a well, it's like I gotta go down there. It must
be a creepy, you know, construction down there.
Yeah.
So at our old house, you probably remember this, but in the backyard there was a manhole cover in the grass, and when you open it up, there was a cistern underneath it. So I think back in the day, people would use like rainwater, and they would drain into a cistern. And you can use that water for probably drinking purposes.
Sure.
But, so it's basically just like a giant pit under our yard, and I was, because of my love of wells and cisterns, I always wanted to go down there into it, and I just never did.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, you could probably put an extension ladder down there and get down there, but it's like, it maybe would have been dangerous. Maybe there'd been like toxic gases down there or something.
Yeah, you just never know.
But I mean, this is my dream. Like my moonshot dream is I go down there and there's a door down there. Yeah. Oh man, I would have lost my crap. But...
Yep.
Anywho,
yeah.
Well, talk is over.
Well, I guess that's okay.
Bad joke. Okay. All right. So, Kingdoms of Amalur.
Kingdoms of Amalur is definitely a series that is important to me. I do absolutely love it. There was a time where I literally called, outside of video games, Kingdoms of Amalur was my hobby. Like it was, I literally just played that game and played it and played it and played it. And it was like when I woke up in the morning. So it was like when I didn't have a job before I moved out of the house and just had like a lot of other stuff going on in my life. It was like, that was all I wanted to do. So like, I that one's very much like nostalgic for me in that area. But it is not a C tier. It is above that. That would be a B tier.
Okay. So I know that you like that one, but yeah, you haven't talked about it in a while.
Yeah.
Again, you're the only person I know that's ever played that.
But if you think about it too, it's because there's only been one game.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really a franchise of a lot of games. It's just one game that was amazing.
Okay. On average,
they did recently re-release it when THQ Nordic bought a ton of stuff, and they released new DLC for it, which was insane. That was the best thing I could have ever hoped for, because after they went out of business and I knew that we were never getting more of it, I swear every month I'd go online because the rights to the game reverted to the state of Rhode Island. So they basically had the rights to the IP in jail. And no one, they wanted because they lost so much money, so many millions of dollars, and not understanding the state government, not understanding the video game industry, they wanted stupid amounts of money for it that they were never going to get.
$100 million.
Yeah, and so it was held rancid for years and years and years. Yep.
Oh, good to say re-released it though.
Exactly. And yeah, with new DLC, that's the best thing I could have ever hoped for. And the DLC was pretty good. It was good. It had a mechanic I wasn't wild about where you could only hurt certain enemies with certain weapon types, and it was it just paused the gameplay flow, especially in a game that plays like God of War, where it's all about gameplay flow and just constant, fast, frenetic action. that to me felt like it hurt the pacing a little bit. But the story and the cities and the, like, for me, an RPG lives and dies on its, like, cities and towns like, that I can go and visit. It was top tier for that. The whole game, and the
head?
The DLC.
Oh, okay.
In general.
Seth was pointing at his head there, so... okay, so I wasn't sure about that.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
I had to,
it was a good guess. Yeah, it was definitely a good guess.
So, Far Cry, though, is that a C tier?
It is a C tier.
Okay,
yeah.
I figured that was
I literally put the C tier, like, because Far Cry is, like, I wanted it to be on this list, but it's not, like, way up there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and it's been fresh on my mind for the last few weeks. And just playing every single Far Cry game I play, I like. Like, it's definitely repetitive. It has a formula of map mess and all of this, but it's just one of those games that's never not fun to play. Everything you're doing, whether you're paragliding or getting in shootouts or driving or
sicking animals on
people. Exactly. It's just this constant, unapologetically fun game that never takes itself too seriously, and truly it just captures that video game feeling of, like, I want to spray bullets and drive muscle cars.
Shoot bubble gun.
Exactly.
So Far Cry was it Blood Dragon? What was the...
I never played Blood Dragon,
really?
But yeah, that is one that I think I have it on PS3. I think I had download because it came free with like a package deal that I got, and I never got around to playing it. But that one, I think of all of them, that'd probably be one that you'd like because it's very like neon 80s.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I ever owned it at one point, but yeah, it's like, for those that don't know, Far Cry is like a pretty not standard, but it's like something like it reminds me of Predator for some reason, but just like out in the jungle, and just like bad news and stuff like that. Or Blood Dragon, it was kind of the DLC that was it 3?
Yes, and
it was just like crazy, like 80s themed, like dripping in neon, just
and
like,
synth and
and synthesizer stuff and whatnot. So I think it was not taking itself too seriously because it's action movie, but
100%. I'm just trying to see. I think. Far Cry compilation. Oh, that has Blood Dragon on it.
There you go.
Played it. I might have to pop that in. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All see, right. Spot on.
Right. All right, Fable. This one I'm curious about because I wasn't sure.
Yeah, Fable's a B tier.
Okay. Wow. Okay. There you go.
Fable is. Oh no! I'm sorry. I was A tier. Fable's an A tier.
Oh, okay.
I was in my head. I was like the second one. Sorry, you actually did. I'll tell you right now. You really did do good here.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Fable is very, very much a B tier.
A tier.
A tier. Gosh, I can't with this.
You're giving me false hope.
No, Fable's definitely an A tier. I think it's been so long since a new game has come out. I am very hyped for the new one, but we've just gotten so little about it in terms of information, gameplay, anything like that. I have faith in it because it is still up. The thing about Fable is, like, if Monty Python existed in like the early 2000s and decided to make a video game, it would be Fable. It's so unapologetically, obviously influenced by Monty Python's humor. The third game, John Cleese is even a main character in the game. The third game has a lot of famous actors in voice roles. I think even the main villain is like Michael Fassbender or something like.
Fable for me, and not to talk crap about it, I was associated with unfulfilled promises.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, that's even like, I don't know much about the second one, but I know like the first one had all these kind of like grand, and I know that Peter Molyneux is this kind of person where he's
a snake oil salesman.
Yeah, he's he's a confidence man.
I say that literally because I'll show you in the Fable 2 art book, they have like the developers made a snake oil salesman. It's obviously Peter Molyneux. Like if you look at it, like it's obviously a jab at that, which I think he kind of like, I don't want to say embraced it, but he kind of playfully acknowledged, like was aware of that perception of him.
I think, it is, from what I know about him, he's kind of like a visionary that just talks out of his ass.
Yeah.
So he does have interesting ideas, but then he makes kind of all these promises that just aren't going to be possible. Was he part of the Project Natal?
Yes.
On that was the Xbox Connect.
Yep.
Where basically they're using a camera. You're able to talk to like this AI kid and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was complete BS.
Yeah, it was like, what's that game? I want to say Far Cry or Fallout, not that, Killzone. Killzone 2 levels of obviously doctored footage.
Pre-recorded.
Yeah, I was bad.
But I know that people who like kind of Western fantasy, like a lot of people like Fable.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, especially with like the goofiness. Like I like grim dark fantasy because I'm a grim dark person.
Oh yeah. Fable 3 is definitely my least favorite. I like it.
Mm.
And I feel like it has the most to offer in the game as far as like in the series as far as exploration and just like new things around every corner and things to do. But they made a mistake making the protagonist a fully voiced character, and they made him kind of have his own personality that took away from yours. And then I had this, I get it, they constantly wanted to innovate, but there was no pause menu. Literally you pause and you go into this sanctum where you run to different rooms to like pick items or do equipment or do things like that, and it's just so slow.
I've never even seen that.
Plodding.
I'm offended by that.
Yeah, I mean, it's offensive. It's very offensive. Like, it's one of those things like why you trying to fix something that wasn't broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Certainly unique, I'll give them that.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Right.
So,
Fable, A tier. All right.
A tier.
Lunar
Nailed it. B tier.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure.
I really don't have much to say other than what you said. It's just it's good. It really introduced me to the JRPG series, but like most JRPGs that I played afterwards did what it did better.
Yeah.
It just it's very the grandfather created there's a famous Shakespeare line that says he is the wax that men are molded from. Lunar is the wax that JRPGs were molded from. It really laid the blueprint. Wow. So yeah, I do really like Lunar 2, but it's not one. I mean, I don't even know if I'll ever go. I've never beaten the second one. I don't know if I'll ever go back and beat the first one again. I would like to beat the second one before I ever go back and try and replay through the first one again, but just a solid, old, reliable video game series.
B. Perfect. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, we've talked about Lunar.
Oh, yeah.
A lot in the podcast, I guess.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, Fable, Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is B. Or Red Dead Redemption as a series is B. So it's one down.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Explain
yourself.
It's really, really incredible. It's the thing is, my love of Red Dead Redemption as a franchise really just comes down to Red Dead Redemption 2, and it will never do that again. That will never happen again. I would say as a video game, that is 100% one of the greatest video games of all time.
Yeah.
But it's kind of outside my wheelhouse in terms of like, I mean, I love Westerns, but I don't really have, it's a feel thing, man. I don't know. It's just, I don't really have an excellent explanation for it. That's just kind of where it falls when I think about it.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, especially since you have stuff like Red Dead Revolver, which is that the first game technically in the series, but it's not really the same. It's not made by the same people, really.
Yep, exactly. It's really, it was made by another studio that I think Rockstar eventually absorbed. Like, it's still under the Rockstar brand,
right?
But it was like by it's kind of like LA Noire. It's like I think it was published by Rockstar, but I think it was developed by someone else, but they eventually absorbed them.
Okay.
So yeah, Red Dead Redemption is truly amazing. It's just not one, I don't know, I just don't go back to it as much as I go back to like Fable or The Witcher or anything like that. It's one that I fondly remember, but I mean, because like, okay, look, here's the thing. Red Dead Redemption 2 is such an incredible game to play that first time, but honestly, when I think about going back to playing it, it feels a little bit like a chore sometimes.
Really?
Like the idea of kind of its slow plottingness and like
it's deliberate.
It's very deliberate.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where like I as a father and a student and a worker, I just don't have the amount of time to dedicate to what that game demands of you if you want to enjoy it.
Yeah, I initially played it. I don't know if maybe you'd let me borrow a copy or something, but when I initially played it, I was really turned off by how kind of slow and like heavy it all felt. Yep. But once I kind of, somebody explained it to me, it's just like, it's like a cowboy simulator.
Yes.
Kind of. When you think about it that way, it makes a lot more sense. Yeah. That's like, everything is very detailed. Like, for some reason, it's always stuck out to me. When you go to the store, you know, you're literally leafing through like an old style, old-timey catalog.
Or you can but even on top of that, you can not only do that, but did you notice you can walk around and pick things up off the shelves and buy them from the counter as well?
Yeah. I guess I don't know that, or I didn't know that you could actually do that. But like, yeah, just like everything's modeled in the game.
Yeah.
And
I'm
even though I'm like super left wing and the pacifist, like I'm kind of a gun nut.
Yeah.
And while all the guns, I don't think they're actually licensed to the game. Most of them, if not all of them, are based off of real guns.
I think they are though, because there's the Cattleman revolver. I think is a real gun, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that they got like the actual licensing to use some of them. And I think some of them are kind of anachronistic, like the C96 Mauser, the broom handle Mauser. That is in that game, but it's just like
hadn't been invented.
Well, it would have been the thing is like maybe one would have made its way to America, but I think there was like a German pistol. And it would have been like that'd have been like a freaking space laser back in the day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, if you're a gun person, if you're a cowboy person, if you're a horse person, westerns obviously like
the horse testicles shrink and expand based on temperature.
Can you imagine that guy just sitting in his cubicle at work? He's like, this is my life right now.
This is it. This is what my entire 8 hours, 10 hours a day is dedicated to.
Poor guy. Pour one out for that guy.
And one thing, just a complaint here, and this is just Rockstar. I mean, Rockstar, I would say, falls in line with EA and Ubisoft in terms of they become such big corporations that they are out of touch in so many ways. Like, they literally... So there's a glitch in the game that will never get fixed. It wasn't like that when I played it. It came with an update and they never went back and patched it out. Huh. Where in the first camp that you make, which is in like a Midwestern area, very plains, very moderate temperature, no matter what you are wearing, the girls in the camp or the people will be like, you're going to catch your death if you don't put a coat on. And and they just don't go back and fix it. Whatever.
Version broken.
In that moment, it is. Like, it does
that's
feel
the thing. It's like, that's one thing that the game has going for it is immersion.
Immersion, yeah. So and when something like that happens, it does tear you out of it.
Yeah, I totally get that. So one of the main guys, I forget what his name is, but one of the main guys in the Red Dead Redemption series, he left the company, right?
Yeah, I can't think of his name. Dan Houser?
Forget. He's one of like the OG Rockstar.
I mean, he's the guy that did the story for I think like 3 or 4, 5, and Red Dead and Red Dead 2. Like he's
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. Sorry, he's known for bringing story very much more to the forefront of like I mean. They spent a lot of money on like Grand Theft Auto Vice City for voice actors and things like that, but they weren't particularly deep and thought-provoking stories.
They're not?
But like, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, like at the end of it, they make you think. Like they're like, crap, I have thoughts and feelings now. And ask real questions that, I mean, famously Red Dead Redemption 2 is a like designed to be a comment on the video game industry.
Really?
Yes, yeah. Read it. He was basically making a comment on how they like the outlaws of the video game world are dying and being taken over by these big like corporations that exactly carpetbaggers.
Oh, if anybody is the Pinkertons, it's probably Rockstar.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's why him leaving the company was such a perfect like way to end that is because it really followed that game's narrative.
Yeah, and as much as you like certain things in a series, sometimes it's just capped off so well. It's just like even though you wish you had more of it, it's just like just leave it be.
No, yeah. I mean, are you aware of how the second game ends? Like, have you?
Yeah. So 2 is a prequel to 1, basically.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So I have one of my friends at work, Wayne. He played through 2 and also 1.
Yep.
And you talked to me a lot about it, but then obviously you
was
told me
a
about it.
heavy weepy boy at the end of that game. I had some wet cheekies that day.
I would say, that's
it's
one of
heavy.
those, like, best, video game endings type things, along with, I mean, the ending of BioShock isn't really the crazy twist. It's more like 3/4 of the way through. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, like big video game story moments.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
All right, Red Dead B.
Yeah,
B. So we've got yes, we got Ease.
Yes, you were right about that one. Yeah, I think okay. So this is why I put that, because honestly, Ease and Red Dead might even be able to be flip flopped. But the reason Ease is just above it on the A tier is that it just there is not a single bad game in the series, and I believe there never will be. Like, it's just such a reliable franchise that every game, what you're gonna get. It's comfort food, but it's obviously more complex than something like Lunar.
Yeah, of course.
Like when you think about, like, at work, I listen to the Ease soundtracks all the time. I just have the OST playing in the background while I'm doing stocking stuff, and it's one that, like, is so evocative, because in my head, like, just knowing that these games are about this adventure log of this, like, Link meets Indiana Jones type main character who's just always running and running around the world looking for adventure, and, like, the idea that these are coming from his 100 travel logs is so evocative to me, because, I mean, on top of, like, it just created good, it also has, like, it's not a complex story, but it does bring in kind of complex fiction ideas, like an unreliable narrator, and there's an unreliable narrator is a very heavy theme throughout all of the E series, and I think that's really, really cool. I would say the most recent one, 9, was the weakest of the series, but I'm still enjoying it. Just the gameplay loop, and I want to clarify, like, Ease, I'm very much an anti-hipster of that. I very much came into it in the mainstream. Like, Ease A is the first game that I played where I was like, I love this. Like, this is really good. And that the gameplay that Ease really has now is not necessarily what it has always been known for. Now, you've always just been Adol in the old ones. Now you do this thing where you flip between 3 characters that have different damage types, and, like, you can do against enemies. It's kind of funny because it contradicts what I said about Kingdoms of Amalur earlier, but it helps the gameplay flow in this. It makes you think a little bit more tactically about where you're at and, like, the enemies that you're fighting. And then this, I love any game. I love Fog of War. I love Fog of War. I love just pushing back layers of fog. So if you don't know what Fog of War is, essentially, if you start on a map in a video game and you imagine you have, like, you're looking at a map, you can't see around you, but as you move, you're just clearing that fog and opening up chests and landmarks and things like that. And the more you explore, the more you open up the map and the more things you can see. So it's like, it's almost kind of Metroidvania in a way. And I love games. As a matter of fact, the first game in the series that I played at all was actually before 8 was Memories of Celceta, which is a remake, not a remake, but a retelling of the 2 different versions of 3, basically. Like, 3 had, like, a Super Nintendo version and I think a TurboGrafx PC Engine one. Yep, and the 3 famously did not do well. It was not very good. The other one was Mask of the Sun, I believe, and it took themes from both of those and mashed it into one. It is like the canonical 3 now, and that really started that. Is you come to this and the Romans, and that's another thing about the game that's really cool, is it's kind of an alternate history, our world. It's like you have the Roman Empire, you have Africa, they're like different continents that the name is slightly different, like it's Romun, and they're this empire that's trying to basically rule the world. They're not necessarily the bad guys in every game, but in the larger narrative of Ease that Rome, the Roman Empire, is this empire that's trying to conquer the world and basically bring civilization to it.
Just like the real Romans.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so the third game is very much you are playing this. You're playing Adol, and you've been kind of contracted by the Roman Empire to explore this island and kind of push and find different landmarks and do it. And I just love that gameplay loop. Mm-hmm. And then Ys 8 took that a step further by having you wash up on an island, and you bring survivors and you collect survivors around the island to get to different areas, and you kind of push back that fog of war to find more and more. So yeah, Ys A tier, 100%.
I just say it's for the people that really like Ys, this beloved series, it is pretty niche now. I think, is it Johnny Millennium? Is that what he actually calls himself?
Yep.
The Happy Console Gamer on YouTube, he was like the big guy who was kind of preaching Ys back in the day on YouTube.
He converted me.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about Ys through him, but yeah, I've only played the very first one.
Yep.
What's the Vita version or the Vita one? Is that 7 or?
Well, I mean, almost all of them come out for.
There was one where it was
made for PSP.
For
E7. Yep,
okay,
that was E7.
I think I maybe
there's
a little bit.
Technically 2 of them, right? So there's Ys Arc of Nepishtim, and that did come out for PS2, but they're very different games. I think the storylines might be similar, but graphically, like, it was made specifically for the PSP.
Okay.
And the thing about this is it actually has anime cutscenes, whereas the PS2 version had these weird 3D, like, kind of off-putting pre-rendered cutscenes.
Yeah.
This is definitely the best version. Ys the Arc of Nepishtim. And I think this is 6. This is the 6th Ys game.
Okay.
And then, E7 was made exclusively for PSP.
Yeah.
And that's one that I'm playing through right now and really enjoying.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Ys.
A. You nailed it.
Perfect. All right. So
Easy A.
At least I'm pretty confident about 2 of these up here now.
Okay.
All right. The Witcher.
Nailed it.
Tier.
Yeah. I should have built up the suspense a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I really said all there is to say earlier, and just like what an impact that it had on me, and just not only video games but the storytelling medium. Because I think that's what it did that Ocarina of Time didn't even do. Is it told a deep story, a very deep and mature story that rivaled novels. It was such a good. It's one of those. I would say if I could erase one game from my mind to experience again for the first time, I think the first Witcher would be one easy choice to do that with.
Yeah, it's The Witcher 1 is the only one out of the 3 Witcher games that I put any kind of time into.
Yeah.
But I really liked it when I played it. And I even played a little, like maybe the first chapter of it here in the past few years.
Yep.
But you're right. It's like the story is just so good. It goes in places where you don't think it's going to go. It is kind of like gray moral ground where that's what's great about games like Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
Is in Fallout New Vegas, you have like 3 factions. You can kind of choose one of the 3 to join, and they all are problematic.
Yep.
Like none of them are a slam dunk. Like even if at first they kind of appear that way, and like The Witcher felt like that with some of its quest lines and side quests, where it's just like, you're making the best out of a bad situation, and that doesn't make it good.
Yeah, exactly. There's a famous line in the Witcher novels where Geralt's talking about evil, and I'm not going to nail the line, but it's the good, evil, the lines are blurred, the definition is arbitrary. If I have to choose between a lesser evil, I'd rather not choose at all. And then there's he's confronted with the whole conflict that like not choosing is making a choice. And like he's like in the books, he's very like punished for his neutrality, and that is really part of his character growth. The books are amazing. I mean, honestly, like the novels are incredible. Not that, go out and read them. That's it.
What was the other? I always have to, whenever I talk about The Witcher, I have to mention this. My favorite monster name in The Witcher is the Drowner.
Yeah.
It's just like these little fish people things that live in the river and they apparently drown people, but it's like, I just love how efficient that name is. It's like, what's this monster? The Drowner.
Well, you don't tell me what it does. I already know.
It says on the tin,
Yep.
It's my favorite one, but I mean, it has a lot of other cool monsters and stuff in it too. So, Yeah, I would definitely recommend trying that one too. Even still the first one.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that they haven't done like a remaster.
They're remaking it.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're doing a remake of the first one. I'm nervous
go.
about it just because of how big CD Projekt Red has gotten, and just like how much more of a major corporation, more of a like EA, Rockstar, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
They're not quite that, and like they really did right by Cyberpunk eventually. But they're not going in a direction that I'm super confident in, I guess.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Like, The Witcher was made by a tiny little scrappy developer with nothing but, like, dreams and audacity.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who's making this. You know, and fundamentally, it's not going to be that.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody at work about From Software, the people that make the Dark Souls games and Elden Ring and whatnot. And it's just like, ever since, I'll say maybe Demon Souls, probably 2008 or 9, they haven't really made a bad game. Like, the people that were arguing over certain Dark Souls games, like, they have become one of those big companies. And a big Japanese company is different than a big American company. And not, okay. Western developers, yeah. But still, they're making good games. It's like, it doesn't feel like they've sold out and they've been able to use their kind of increased revenue to make cooler games, kind of. But yeah, I hope that was good though. It'd be kind of fun to go back and play The Witcher if it was like that.
100%.
All right, that was the easy one.
Yep.
Right. Dragon Age.
That was a tough one.
Is it A?
And you were right.
Okay, good. So it's either an S or an A.
Yeah, I have recently. And I said this out loud, and I don't know if I was near you when I said it or not, but I recently said out loud that Dragon Age has recently upgraded to an S tier after my most recent time playing through. Inquisition. It's just, you know how like in an immersive sim, the developers have to account for everything in terms of gameplay and what the player could do. Inquisition feels like that in terms of like dialogue and player choice. And there's if you are someone who likes lore and the larger world, like you could feast on Inquisition, or you could feast on the Dragon Age series for a year and not touch the iceberg, like just be chipping the tip of the iceberg. Mm-hmm. It's just so lore dense, and they're not perfect. They contradict themselves, and they do like make mistakes and retcons, but it feels like they do such a good job of always respecting the lore that they've created in every new entry, and going back and respecting and making sure that they are at least aware of the details and doing that. I recently read all of the books. The reason it's an S tier is because from a franchise standpoint, I will always consume Dragon Age material, shows, cartoons, books, comics. I want it all. I want all of it. And that's really what makes it an S tier, is just like that voracious need to want to consume whatever they put out.
I mean, that's kind of like what I said about R-Type last episode. It's like any little bit of lore I'm interested in.
Yep.
Anything.
Yep.
There's not a ton of games like that where like, some games just don't really give a crap about the story.
Right. And yeah, so the characters, I think Dragon Age, like the characters are another big draw for it, because they're usually tropes, but they're just, I mean, Dragon Age is one of those games that like very leans into tropes to its benefit. And yeah, I gotta say, I'm so hyped for the new game. It's one of those that I think it's gonna be like the Witcher TV series, where it's something that I love so much, even if it isn't universally loved, and even if it isn't amazing, I'm probably going to I'm expecting to like it just because of my love for the franchise and being more, because there's two ways you can go, and even I go with certain things, where you can love a franchise and be super protective of it and very critical of the things that comes out, or you can be an apologist for that franchise, and when something new comes out, even if it isn't great high quality, you just love it because it's more in that franchise. That's what Dragon Age is to me. It's just more things in that franchise. The books aren't high art at all. They're pretty they're not young adult in terms of their content, but they're pretty young adult in terms of their like quality of reading, in terms of that like mid-tier. But I just loved every book. I loved all of them.
That was like Dot Hack too. There's just so much Dot Hack stuff, and yeah, I'm just like the novels are not great. Like you said, it's not high art. But it's just just fun to just like read more stories in that universe.
Yep,
you know? So,
100%.
Totally get it. Yeah,
100%.
All right, Golden Sun.
That is an A tier.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that is an A tier. So, it's very important. This Golden Sun series is a very important one to me. It's a lot. Okay, so it's the same reasoning for Lunar, just rated higher than Lunar for me.
Okay.
Just in terms of it's very like chocolate flavored JRPG. It's reliable. It's good. Milk chocolate. But it's I really, really enjoy it, and it's an A tier. What can I say? It's a series that I grew up with. It wasn't like life changing like The Witcher and Ocarina of Time was. And it's obviously not one I can claim to want to consume every bit of content that comes out, because the third game was mediocre, and Nintendo isn't doing it anymore because the developers have been banned to the Mario Sports Mines forever and ever. Yep. So yeah, it's incredible, but it's just not quite an S tier.
Okay, I was close, but
close.
The last one, Zelda, S tier. I look around me, and I'm sitting right next to a giant Zelda collection over here.
A shrine in honor of S tier. Yeah, I mean, I anything I'd say about Zelda at this point would just be repetitive from every episode leading up to this point. It's just such an important franchise. I can't gush over it enough. I can't like it. I think like what sets it apart, even from Witcher and Dragon Age or anything like that, it's one of those that's like, how rare do I find something that I love so much that has so much mass appeal? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the games on this list have some mass appeal, like Red Dead and Far Cry, but you know, like the Ease and Lunar and Kingdoms of Amalur and Witcher are more niche things. But like Zelda is like the definition of created for a broad audience. Yeah. And so it grandfathered an entire genre and gameplay systems. And there is barely a video game coming out today that has not evolved from some influence of what Zelda did. And it just can't be overstated its importance in the industry.
Yeah. I kind of have a theory with mass appeal things. It's like they either do it one of two ways. They just make it as bland and, you know, palatable, to unoffensive. Just like, there's no spice to it, but you know, it's like mashed potatoes. Yep. Maybe we talked about this past. It's like mashed potatoes, or something can just really be that good. Yes. And I think that's more what Zelda is.
That's very much more what Zelda is.
Or even like Mario, right? Like, I'm not the hugest Mario fan, but it's like Nintendo just makes that good of series. Yeah. They're just that wide appeal. And props to them. I can't, knock them for not being hipster fodder. But, yeah. So it goes. This
is my tier list.
Perfect.
3, 3, and 1. I really made that C tier just so I could put Far Cry on there. But yeah, these are, I would say, unlike your list, these truly are probably 10 of like my favorites. Like again, there are games that I like more than Far Cry that aren't on this list. These are definitely my only S tier games. I would not say I have any other video games that I consider an S tier. Okay. But these are a lot closer to just my actual top 10 games. Okay. Game franchises.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
We're gonna wind down a little bit here with some news and a couple news stories actually. Yeah. We've got the PlayStation and you've got some release info for new. I'll let you start. Tell us about your new excitement.
So this is gonna be exciting for like me and nobody else. But well, it's not even that
podcast is about us. So.
At least it's news. It's not very exciting, but so R-Type, huge fan of R-Type. If you didn't know, I talk about it all the time. the next R-Type game coming out was going to be a compilation of R-Type Tactics 1 and 2 called R-Type 1 and 2 Cosmos. And it was originally announced it might have been 21 when it was announced. And then I think it's supposed to come out in 23. And then they said, oh, we're going to move it to spring of 24. And then it was fall of 24. And I just didn't hear anything about it for a long time. And I was just like, uh-oh. And I think we said the last episode, it was kickstarted.
Yeah.
So it's just they kind of already got the money for it. Is this going to be
another Kickstarter scam, running off with people's money? I hate to say this, but I feel like it's always, not always, but I feel like Japanese developers have been notorious for that, promising something.
Yeah.
And then either making a very poor product or running away with it. You've got Mighty Number 9. You've got that one, 90s style JRPG. Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about these Japanese developers that back these exciting Kickstarters, and
maybe it has something to do with their corporate culture or something there. Yeah. Oh my god. That's another one I was disappointed about. Yeah. So yeah, we can go into that another time. But yeah, so it's been rescheduled now for 2025 with no actual date. So it's just
it's nice to have it's nice that they acknowledged it.
Oh, just even talked about it, because I think the last major announcement they had is it was featured in Famitsu, which we talked about. Yep. And it's okay, that's good.
Yep.
That's the Japanese video game magazine, so the fact that it's featured in that is probably a good sign.
Yep.
But yeah, just complete dead air from Grand Zelda, the people that make it. And I was just every, maybe a couple days a week, I would just search R-Type news.
Yeah.
And finally there was a new one, and I saw that. I was like, oh. That's that's my number one game I'm looking forward to right now. So
that's
and, I mean, at least it wasn't it's canceled.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot. But did you back it?
I did, which I wish I would have. If I'd known about it, I would have backed it. But
been in the credits again.
I know. I don't think that they crowdfunded R-Type Final 3, which is the PS5 version that I have. But again, I would have backed that too if I could have. Yeah. But yeah, I will give you my money.
Which is the one that you got your name in the credits?
So 2. R-Type Final 2.
Okay.
I got, and then R-Type Final 3 is almost an expanded version of 2. Yeah. It's not really a whole
2.5.
Basically, yeah. So, yep, I was in the original R-Type Final 2 credits, right in the middle.
Nice. Is it alphabetical order?
Yeah, it must have to do with how much you paid, but it's there's big names first and then medium names.
Got it.
I think I may be a medium name. Or maybe I'm small name, I don't know. But yeah, and then the small people.
Got it.
Yeah.
The little people.
But I'm in the game. Yes.
Nice.
I didn't know what to expect when I first got it. I was oh yeah, I'm going to be in the credits. Maybe a few people. It's thousands of people in the credits. Yeah. It's the longest game credits I think I've ever seen. But I'm in there.
Nice.
I'm not unique, but I'm in there.
Nice. You're immortalized.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that it got pushed back so unceremoniously, but I'm glad you got some acknowledgement
just something, because I at least don't want to be hanging on until the end of the year and stuff. But
so yeah, so the new PlayStation 5 Pro. I feel like Sony does this thing where they get really good headlines and they get really praised for something, and then there's oh no, we gotta melt down. And because they recently had that Astrobot platformer game. They had the Astrobot full price video game that came out of that tech demo on PS5. That tech demo was really good.
Yeah.
And they literally they've been calling this new Astrobot game a comparable to the glory days of 3D Mario.
Wow.
It's been getting so good. Have you seen the price point on the PS5 Pro?
Yeah. Is it $700?
$700 for the discless version.
Yeah.
$800 for the disc add-on. What? What are you getting? It's a slight boost in graphics. So basically you have to choose between performance or fidelity mode.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
And you're getting 60 frames per second, better ray tracing. It's just a little bit improved. I don't know. It's just... I feel like when the PS4 Pro came out, and I didn't get that until close to the end of the PS4's life cycle, but I remember playing it and be oh, yeah, there's a difference here in smoothness and quality, and I feel like most of the changes in terms of visual are going to be barely perceptible unless you have them standing screenshots side by side.
Or if you're just like which is what the pro versions appeal to more enthusiast people.
That's what I'm going to ask you here. Who is this marketed for? Who's buying the PS5 Pro?
Well, what I've seen is like it's marketed towards enthusiasts, but enthusiasts are the ones that are going to want game discs. Or, physical media. So it's like...
are the ones that have built their own PC at this point.
We'll say, like, PlayStation console enthusiasts and stuff. Because, it's... people are crying about, it's going to be $700 or whatever. Like, a graphics card. Like, my graphics card that I bought was, like, that price. Yeah. So, but it's just a different league, kind of. It's not, better or worse. But that's a lot of money for a PlayStation 5.
Do you remember what the PS5 was when it first came out? Was it $500?
I think it's $500 flat, because I could not afford it.
Well, yeah, it's like so I get it's a Pro, so it's going to be a higher price, but launched it up so much.
That's like the PS3 though. The PS3 came out, it was like $600 or something.
Yeah,
it was something crazy like that. It's just like
it's got the cell processor.
Is the Emotion Engine, is that the PS2 maybe? I
just know the cell processor is what made the PS3 a nightmare for developers to develop for, and
I don't know.
And some people are complaining about like, it doesn't even have any new games to play. That's good. Like, I don't want a step-and-a-half console that locks games behind that. Like, I don't need it to have new games. What I need is for it to be just so much phenomenally better. I need it to be like a 2.5, and it's not. It does not feel like a half
money. Like, and eventually, as collectors, they're gonna make it so it's digital only. They don't want to have to keep, printing games and stuff like that. But I don't like that.
I don't like it. It's not what I want.
They
need to cater to my niche wants.
Yeah. We put you where you were, Sony.
Hey, that's 100% true. That is 100% true. I mean,
we built your house.
All the video game industry. We put the video game industry where it is.
Yeah, don't you forget it.
You owe us.
Yeah, I need compensation for this.
I'll take a PS5 Pro.
I'll take one. Yeah,
I'm not going to turn it down. You can get me one for free.
So, right by the camera here, we have your PS5.
Yep.
It is slightly different looking than that, right? Is it
barely? Yeah, it's got it looks like that, slightly slimmer, and has like these black lines that kind of go down the side of it. I heard someone say that those are supposed to represent the lines of coke that the executives were doing when they came out with the price point.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Sony and the PlayStation brand has always been way more corporate feeling than Nintendo.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. PlayStation, especially like PS1, PS2 era, that was my console of choice.
Yeah.
I loved the type of stuff they had on it. Yep. And now they just don't really do the same thing. Or maybe it's just that like weird Japanese games aren't as like exotic as they used to be.
It's true. Like you even see some like of the weirdest JRPGs coming out on Xbox now. Like it's everywhere. PC
or Switch or something. Yeah. Yep. So it's like PlayStation is just, it feels a lot more bland than it used to be. Like their big kind of headliner games like Horizon Zero Dawn,
Forbidden West was Zero Dawn.
That kind of stuff just doesn't appeal to me. Like especially since it's not really it's not a Japanese property, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I'm a hipster. I like what I like.
Yeah. So I want to get your thoughts on something before we close out here.
Perfect. I like thinking.
we just got done talking about like how important the Zelda franchise is to us and how good it is. Do you have any strong thoughts about the new Echoes of Wisdom? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The new what you play as Zelda to rescue Link, and I have a lot of thoughts on this one, but I want to start with yours.
So I think I watched the original release trailer. Yeah. It's in the style of the Link's Awakening remake, where it looks like little plastic figurines and stuff.
Diorama,
it looks like a diorama. It has like super kind of shallow depth of field, so it looks like it's something small that you're looking at. And I love that for Link's Awakening.
Yes.
I think it's awesome that they're finally making Zelda playable, because people have been asking that forever. Like, there's no reason not to do it.
100%.
I'm just not super interested in it. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
Like, probably the only reason I got the Link's Awakening remake is because I love that original game.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorite Zelda games. So, like, to play kind of a remake of that, or just be able to play it in a different way.
Yep.
Like, I was totally down for that. But, like, a new game, For some reason, it's reminding me of Link Between Worlds for 3DS, where it's just like, oh, this is cool, but it just like doesn't necessarily.
I loved Link Between Worlds.
The first time I played it, I really did too, but I don't even own it anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even own a 3DS anymore. I could complain about the 3DS for a while here too. Yeah. I love the 3DS. I love the concept of it. Like glasses free 3D was awesome.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like my messed up eyes or something where there would always be ghosting. Yeah. So you'd have the main image and then you'd have like a ghost image of it on the left and right. And no matter how I had it, the distance away I had it, like I don't know if it has something to do with like astigmatism in my eyes or something. Yeah. But it just was never comfortable to play. And I'm not going to get a 2DS. You know,
right? Yeah,
I want that 3D because it was really cool. Yeah. Like I remember showing that off to my family and stuff, and just like, look at this is amazing.
Yeah,
but yeah, I even tried like the 3DS XL.
Yep.
Like, what did they have an XL?
The new 3DS XL.
Yeah, which had like way better face tracking and stuff, where it would keep it kind of like in your focus, and it still just didn't work for me.
That is such a shame.
And yeah, it's obviously a me thing because it's like I looked this up and I'm like, is this a thing? Am I stupid? Am I a freak somehow in my eyes? Like, I don't understand.
Well.
Yeah, well.
So
I had to, hang up the old 3DS. But...
That's a bummer. So, yeah, I was very much in the camp where I was, like, banging at the door to get a Zelda game where you played as Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to sound selfish. This is just not the way I wanted it to be. There are certain things that make a game and like contribute to its DNA. You can go outside of that, like very much Breath of the Wild broke so many Zelda conventions.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, a Zelda game is very much like you're going out with sword in hand on an adventure, and I wanted to do that as Zelda. The stacking beds just turns me off. Like, just the concept of, like, getting monsters to fight for you and absorbing different things around the environment. I think that sounds like an incredibly cool gimmick in a traditional Zelda game. But the core gameplay loop revolving around it, it's really not doing it for me. Have you ever heard of that, like, Sheikah game that was, like, I don't even know if it was officially greenlit, but it was pitched to Nintendo by either, like, Platinum or might have been Ninja Theory. I don't know who it was.
I have vague memories of that, yeah.
Oh, you should look it up because, like, there's, like, artistic, like, there's concept art and, like, it was so evocative, and that is like this idea of a version in the timeline where Link didn't come back and there was no hero, and so Sheik had to, without any Triforce or Zelda, and yeah,
spoilers.
Sorry. Cover your ears. Yeah. But yeah, I liked the idea of that so much, so I don't know if I'm just, like, biased because I wanted something like that. But, like, what it comes down to is I'm just not excited about the main gameplay loop of this one.
Yeah, it's like when Nintendo does experimental stuff, they're not necessarily going to do it on their, like, their top-tier games. They're going to make it a side game. They're going to
test it out
test the waters and stuff.
Zelda,
yeah.
Zelda, character Zelda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, kind of Mario equivalents like that, but maybe, like, I would say Paper Mario, but that's not even, like, a good equivalent, but, like, Toad's Treasure Tracker or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they even did it with Princess Peach.
Yeah.
They gave her her own game.
Yeah. Was it the one where she gets mad? That's there's an old, I think maybe it's a DS Peach game, but it's just
really?
Like, yeah. Her superpower's, like, crying and getting mad or something. It's like, wow, how progressive of you, Nintendo.
Yeah, that's a way to set women back 40 years.
But no, I think the newer one's supposed to be okay, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, don't care that much about Mario to look into that stuff, but...
Yep. I have been playing the remake of Thousand Year Door Paper Mario, and that is really good.
Nice. Paper Mario's good, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I only really like the first one, but...
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Well, this has been a great episode.
Yeah.
thank you very much for joining us. Next episode, I think we'll get into some canceled games that we've lamented.
Yeah.
I've got a couple ideas. I know, especially one that'll be on your radar there.
Bring my tissues.
Oh yeah, make sure you bring your tissues and maybe bring your collection. Bring your collection of games in that series.
Oh yeah,
show off.
I've got a lot of crap.
So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you again for coming in and
of course
talking with me until the next bi-weekly episode. This is a placeholder send off.